Welcome, David. It is lovely to see you again. You did a video for us on website design, but we were talking about AI, and I know that you're kind of a pro in this area. So I thought you're perfect to come on and talk to us about nonprofit AI processes and how we can improve them and not be outdated.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using AI at my agency probably about 3 years now. ChatGPT really got big maybe a year and a half ago, and a lot of people don't really understand what it could be used for, how it could be used, where it should be used, ethics around using it. Like, there's a lot of stuff surrounding this, and happy to chat about it.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy to have you because I've done a number of videos on AI, but I want to bring in an expert so that somebody can back me up when I talk about ethics and when I talk about having a policy. So why don't we just dive right in and start with how can nonprofits use AI for some of their processes?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do want to mention is with regards to AI, you can take your donor list, right? And you can throw that into AI and ask it to run a report on like times of year that donations come in and stuff like that. But the first thing that I really do want to address is if you're going to leverage AI with donor information, you really do need to scrub it. It needs to be like, you don't want to have donor names and email addresses and mailing addresses in there, right? So wipe all that out, anonymize it. What I would say is give everybody an ID number and then have an ID number in there that you can then tie back to your CRM, your donation platform, a spreadsheet, however you have the information. That way, if your AI account or the system is compromised, if you're, I'm always worried that information um, could be used by the AI company to do other things with. So I definitely would say like make sure you've anonymized the data. So if that probably goes in line, Joanne, with things that you've mentioned.
Yes, very much so. How we should have a policy around the inputs that we put into any AI. And there are some secure platforms out there like that are built right into your donor management systems, but I know most of us are using the chat GPTs to try and pull this data out.
Exactly. So how can a nonprofit use AI to make their fundraising efforts more efficient, right? How can we uh, use AI to be more efficient in the things that we're doing? So if you think about sending out emails, right? You can use AI to generate subject lines. You can then do A/B testing. Hopefully, whatever system you're sending out emails, you can do A/B testing with, and you can A/B test subject lines for open rates. You can A/B test subject lines for click-through rates. You can do all kinds of stuff like that, and you can say, "Hey, I need an email that talks about this thing. We raised a lot of money for this school so that I guess kind of like the go-to idea is to help feed children. That's usually for whatever reason why my mind kind of goes there when I'm on podcasts talking about this kind of stuff. I need an email that talks about the impact that this has had. Here are the details. Boom, boom, boom. Write me 2 or 3 or 10 subject lines and then pick the best ones, the two that you like, right? Generate the email for me, right? I want it short. I want it to be written in a friendly tone. I want it to be more businesslike. I need it to link back to our website or a contact form. I need a call to action for people to participate in an event or to make a donation, things like that. And you can do all kinds of generative processes there to be able to spend less time coming up with that stuff with like your original content. Not that it's 100% good, right? But it'll get you 70 to 80% of the way there. And then you can fine tune it, you can tweak it, you can do all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I have a coaching client who is amazing when you put him in front of people. He is a relationship guru, but ask him to sit down and write something and it's just not in his skill set. So he'll use these models to just help him. Like he'll put down the bullet points and ask it to turn it into this engaging copy. It's just not in his skill set, so it can really help a lot of fundraisers. And my thing is data. I'm not very good at data. I need that second opinion to put it into a system like that and help me get critical about it.
Yeah, and you can use the AI to say, hey, we're going to run an event. What are some KPIs and metrics that we should be looking at and considering for this? How do we know if this thing, whatever it happens to be, email campaign, event, donations, end of year giving, Giving Tuesday, whatever how can we measure success, right? And then you can put together the metrics for that, and year over year, just keep building on that, and taking a look at that over time to know the efficacy of the effort.
Yeah, I talk a lot about metrics, so thank you for backing me up on that too.
Yeah. For anybody listening, Joanne and I didn't talk about, hey, David, you need to say this beforehand. So
we're of like minds, so it works well. What other processes can we use AI for to help with some of the workflow and the time saving and the upskilling?
yeah, I think I actually had a call right before this one, an hour and a half discovery session with a client of ours, and we were talking about their intranet platform. They're a mostly remote organization. They're national, and we were talking about leveraging. They have SharePoint for their intranet. We were talking about leveraging Copilot to be able to find information to help them make smarter decisions, to find documents. So that's one of those things that, okay, this is kind of like breaking new ground for nonprofits to be able to help them be more efficient to find the information they're looking for. You can use it, like I was talking about, for emails and that type of stuff. So you can use it for personalized communications. So if you know, okay, we've got some bigger donors, they typically live in this area. What are some topical things that came up in that area? So when you do reach out to them, it feels like a more custom, bespoke email that you've sent to them, even though it could be just mass email, right? So you can set up templates in your email system, or you can just use it to research people. So I have a webinar and a workshop, and the workshop, part of that is about how to get corporate sponsors for your nonprofit, right? And thinking about like, all right, what organizations exist that have a shared mission, that have shared values that we can then reach out to, right? Who are the philanthropists in whatever your catchment area is, right? And you can use it to do some research and background information.
Yeah, and I thought of one more. You as the website guru. I know a lot of nonprofits are finally starting to figure out search engine optimization is important. It's very important. And I've used a lot of AI to help with some of that. I mean, I still have to do the keyword research, but really helping to take those secondary keywords and put those naturally into the body of a website.
Yeah, right. Like there are some tips in terms of like, all right, you should do this SEO best practice white hat instead of black hat, kind of like trying to hack the SEO stuff. But in terms of the SEO, when you're writing content, so think blog articles, news releases, service pages on your website, wherever you want to drive traffic, you could do some AI research. What are the trending topics? What are other words that I could use? What are things that people are actually searching for that will drive them to the website? A lot of people, and I know I'm guilty of this, you probably are as well, Joanne, like I go to Google and I type a question in, right? If you can create the content that is like those questions, so then you can, put in a prompt. What are questions around this that somebody might go into Google and search for, and then get some ideas in terms of what should these posts be called? What headings should you have on the page? And then that will definitely help on the SEO side for sure.
Okay. Now, what about challenges that a lot of nonprofits face in using AI with some of their processes?
Challenges. I think the number one challenge is time, right? So being able to have time in the day to play with this stuff, because it really does take time to figure out, okay, I need a prompt, right? So what is a prompt, right? How do I go starting to think about this? And you do need time to get in, create an account. You can create accounts for free or you can have paid accounts. There's lots of different platforms out there with free or paid tiers. I would say create an account, go to ChatGPT, create an account. Another one that I really like is called Perplexity. There's another one out there called Magi. And go and create a free account and just play with it. So carve out time. Open up your calendar right now. Pause the video, the recording. Open up your calendar. Book a half an hour, like this week or next week, to just go and create an account, right? And then book a half hour, maybe every week for the next 2 months so that you can go and have dedicated time to spend playing with the tech. Once you understand the power of it, because we hear about it in the news, we hear about it like we're talking about it, right? You hear about how like powerful it is, but you don't really get it until you've actually played with it. So I think time is probably the biggest one. The second one would be just the brainstorming of how to utilize this in your day-to-day activities, right? I don't think, and I don't believe that AI is going to replace humans. What I do believe is that people that know how to leverage AI will be the ones that replace jobs, right? And that's kind of a little bit scary for some people. I hope I didn't freak anybody out just now when I said that. But yeah, you really do need to figure it out and how to use it to save yourself time, to make you more efficient, so that you can focus on your bigger priorities that you've got.
Well, I know personally when scripts are a really great example. Is I have a topic I want to talk on. I know that topic inside, outside, and backwards, but I need to throw it into a script. I am guilty of putting it into Chat GPT and then losing my humanness in all of it and losing what I would actually say. So I have seen, and I've seen a lot of people do that as well, where they're building a case for support and they get too entrenched in what ChatGPT is saying and really don't take that time to step back and flesh it out and make sure that it's accurate and correct and how they want to say it contains all the right information.
Yeah, right. I've done this too. Early days of ChatGPT, I asked it to create basically the slides for a presentation I was going to do. And I said, okay, I want a case study, and it just made up random stuff. It made up nonprofits, and I was like, this doesn't exist. So since then, one of the things that I do is if I'm using ChatGPT to help with an article and I ask it to give me an example of something, I'll ask it to cite the resource. But I still have to go and check the resource because it might have made it up. It might have misinterpreted what was actually there, right? And I don't want to be disingenuous with the initial intent of whatever that resource was that it cited.
Yeah, I've started writing the basics of things, and my new favorite prompt is critique this based on, and then give it some criteria. I love that prompt.
Yeah. One of the other things that I found really helpful in ChatGPT, when did they put this in? Maybe about 7 or 8 months ago, where you can actually create like a known prompt, not a known prompt, like a known bit of detail about you. So you can put in, all right, like this is, so in mine, I'm David Pisarek. This is who I am. This is what I do. My agency, Wow Digital, this is what we do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then whenever I run a prompt, it uses that as a little bit of background information insight against it. So as an organization, you can build up a profile inside of there so that you don't have to keep repeating things over and over. We help people in New Jersey that are affected by blah, 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 whatever it happens to be. You could just do it the one time. And every once in a while, when I get like a weird response or answer back from ChatGPT, I'll just say, do you know who I am? Just to make sure that it's pulling the right information, that it's informed the way that I want it to be informed.
Yeah. I did a video on that. So I will creating your own GPT within GTP, your chat GPT, and putting that knowledge base in there. So I'll link that in the video description. But future trends, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be an uptick in AI. and how it's being used, either to help with communications, to help with web development. Hey, one of the things that I used it for the other day was, so I have a scorecard in my agency, and we wanted to add in another column to pull information from another sheet that was like how much time was spent with this client this month, right? And I gave all the details into the prompt, and it gave me the formula, and it needed a minor tweak. But that was probably like 3 or 4 minutes, where it might have taken me a half hour to get that all sorted out, or maybe an hour. So I think using it in smart ways like that to be able to save yourself some time. Like, yeah, I could have sat and done it, but why would I when I can use this and get it much faster? So I think using it in those kind of internal ways, like I was talking about emails and subject lines and all that type of stuff, I think using it for research is going to come up. So if you're posting on social media, what are the trending hashtags about this topic? What are the hashtags I should use? I need to connect with people in this area about this topic, right? And get that research piece. So I think that's really going to jump up. And the third one, I would say, is probably around like more sophisticated predictive analytics around donor behavior and fundraising strategies. So what do I mean by that? I mean, donors donate for a couple of reasons. It's usually because they know somebody, or they have been affected by whatever it is that you're trying to help solve, et cetera, et cetera. But there's different times of year that they might donate. So they might donate specifically just for Giving Tuesday. They might donate for end of year to get their tax receipts and that type of stuff. Running the analytics, running AI across your data will give you further insights about the donors. Look, if you're going to do a big Giving Tuesday campaign and push, you need to start hitting them up with messaging in like August and September and October, before November, so they understand the impact that their dollar actually makes, in hopes that they will make a larger donation. There are AI, I'm not going to really call it AI, I'd call it like smart programming in some donation platforms, where when I go to the site and I click that link from the email, it knows who I am, and it will automatically increase the default donation amounts by 10 to 15%, right? And so you can use predictive analytics and insights to make smarter decisions around that type of thing.
Okay, you backed me up again. Data-driven decisions. That's another thing that I always talk about. Yeah, and I love where we're going with generative AI as well, because I know. So I've always done a lot of nonprofit videos for the organizations I've worked with, and the time and energy it takes to shoot the B-roll, shoot it just everything that goes into it. And with some of the new generative tools that are coming out, how much easier that is going to be for those small grassroots nonprofits that can't hire a production company to come in and shoot their videos.
Yeah, I've one of my goals for this year is to kind of like grow my own personal brand, and I'm doing a lot of videos, and I'm doing them with my phone. And there's some great apps that you can get for your phone to remove background noise, right? To, instead of actually, I have a real green screen. I haven't used it for any of those videos. I'm like pointing at it. It's over here beside me. But some of these apps will actually remove the background, and you can put in other things, or you can overlay images. You can do live transcriptions with the audio, so you don't have to type it in, and then you can have like a nicer designed closed captioning type thing on top of the video. So you've probably seen these things in like TikTok or Facebook or Meta or wherever, Instagram, right? But there's applications, there's ways of doing some of these things that will save you time, where you don't necessarily need a production studio. You don't need editors to do some of the stuff. Yeah, there's a learning curve on figuring all that stuff out, but the software is really cool, and really, I'm such a geek in like that kind of way. Like, the software is cool, right? But it's important to play with some of the stuff, because it will save you the time and effort.
Yep. I'm going to jump over into Suno AI when we're done here, and I'm going to create a theme song for you, and I'm going to play us out to that theme song.
Amazing, amazing. Like when you and I spoke last time, what was it? Probably like 3 weeks ago or something like that. I went into Suno and I was playing around with some of the theme songs as well. It's a fun little
Yeah.
tool. So anybody that doesn't know, it's basically a songwriting AI platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And I follow a gentleman. We talked a little bit about who you follow to keep up on stuff and who I follow. And he's got a website that if you're looking for a particular type of AI, and I'll link that in the video description too, it's futuretools.io or OI. Um, you can go in and search, and he's got them all categorized. So project management is another one where AI can really help us out. And any of the generative stuff, any of the analytics, just everything that you could possibly want. I even ran across a gift thing because so I cannot find a gift for my mom or my dad. They have everything that they want. They're old. They've got it all. So what do I get them? Well, there's an AI for that. There's an AI for everything nowadays.
It really is, right? And then there's add-ons for AI. So there's one for ChatGPT called AI PRM that gives you access to like a whole bunch of like script libraries that people have created. So if you need a LinkedIn post, there's a prompt that you can run through that will give you a better post for that type of platform. And there's free and then there's paid models of them. I would sign up, get the free stuff, play with it a bit. Don't put in any real identifiable information into it in that kind of way in terms of donor insight and that type of thing. But you gotta play with it. That's really what it is. You need to carve out time to play with it. You don't want to be left behind. As well, if you don't have time to play with it, you can hire experts to come in and kind of help guide you through it or give you the prompts or the systems that you need to achieve what it is that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a webinar coming out on AI fundraising and how to use it and all the different options. And because we're those of us who help teach this stuff, we're happy to share. I mean, it's such a beautiful tool that can, again, not replace us as humans. It's not going to take our job, but it is going to help make our jobs easier. It's going to help us upskill in the areas where we've got weaknesses, and it will be one of those things where employers are going to start looking for it. Do you have that skill?
Right. I'm waiting for the day when it says like needs 10 years of AI experience in a job description like tomorrow or something. I'm like that's not really a thing. But the truth is that a lot of us have had access to AI for several years now, right? When you think of on your phone, you've got Siri or Google or Alexa or whatever those platforms are. Those are not those are programmed smart systems, right? So it's not real true AI, but it's really early type of AI, and those systems are getting smarter and better. Just over the last few weeks or so, OpenAI has been releasing this function for some ChatGPT paid users or premium users, whatever they call it, that allows voice interaction. And I was playing around with it last night, and it's actually pretty amazing. So it instead of typing in a prompt, you can just talk to it. It'll come back, it'll do whatever it does in like the milliseconds it does, and it'll come back and read you basically the answer. So it's really like having a conversation with it. So the AI stuff is getting really neat. It's grabbing a lot of really great information. The problem is can the information be trusted? Is it reliable? You still need to do your research and dig into it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it was initially trained off the internet too, right? So that
Right.
just goes to show you, the internet has a lot of weird stuff on it. So
It's called generative prompting, but the reality is, at least right now, it's not actually generating anything except for an answer. It has this massive, like I can't even comprehend the size of the data store that's behind these things, but basically it went on the internet, grabbed everything, and it's just giving you back information that is relevant to what you're asking for. So it's think of it as like a really crazy enhanced search engine.
Yeah, and actually Google or OpenAI is making a play for after Google, aren't they? In terms of their search.
I really believe that I I've been a fan of Google since the days of Alta Vista, like years, like Netscape way back, like all that, right? Google came on the scene, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is way better than Yahoo. I don't have all these ads in my face and stuff like that. Like this is perfect. I think Google's days, unless they can make a really strong case, are numbered in terms of search. I think
Yeah.
people want to just get the answer fed back without having to click through to view web pages and get those kind of insights. And Google over the last year or so has been a little bit better in terms of the results that come back, showing you some like real detail about the content on the page, not just here's the page to go to. But they're not there.
All right. So, anything else that you wanted to cover before we talk a little bit about you? Because I've been a fan of yours for a while, and we got to talk about you.
Thanks, Joanne. The one thing I do want to mention is tied directly to what we just talked about OpenAI, people using it for search and details. When you think about search engine optimization, you also need to think about AI optimization. Do you want to block AI from getting access to your content that may hurt you over time, right? Because you want to show up in results. And if the AI engines are going to be scraping your information to return results, what can you do to try to make your results more compelling for somebody to want to then go to your organization to find out about you on your actual website, as opposed to just having information come through? I was talking with a colleague probably a couple months ago at this point, and they were really worried like websites are going to die, right? Because people aren't going to be visiting your website. They're going to go to whatever AI and just get their insight and information from there. I'm like, hold on a second. Wait a second. Where is this AI stuff learning from? It's learning from your website, from your information. So the websites aren't going to die. I think they're just going to kind of morph and change over the next couple of years, which will be really interesting to see.
Mhm. Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing about that because I do a lot of search engine optimization, and I know you got to optimize for AI, but I hadn't heard that rumor about websites going the way of the dodo. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say it won't happen, but it might revert back to like the 1990s site where, the importance is on the content on the site so that you could be found by AI versus being found by Google's bots and whatever. But I think there's a balance there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about Wow Digital.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity there. So, Wow Digital, we are a web agency that works with nonprofits and charities. So, we will take your websites. You're probably thinking about, if you close your eyes and think about your website, what's the emotion that you feel, right? If you feel like, oh, I can't stand looking at the thing, or oh my gosh, it's really hard to work with on the back end. It takes like an hour to do something that should really be 5, 10 minutes. That's what we fix for our clients.
And you have a podcast as well, too.
I do, fellow podcaster. It's called Nonprofit Digital Success. It's all about, I shouldn't say all about, it's like 90% about what you need to do in your digital life. So whether it's email, thought leadership, getting buy-in from the board, right down to like we had topics around SEO, we had topics around AI, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did
Um,
that.
yep, you did, you did.
Thank you for bringing me
And
up.
we have a new episode every 2 weeks, and we're actually coming up to our 100th episode,
Yeah,
which is like super fun and exciting. Yeah.
yeah, congratulations.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, I'm going to link your information, your contact information, your podcast, all of that stuff in the video description. And it was lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on and having this little talk with us.
Always a pleasure, Joanne. Got to
All
throw a
right.
little bit of graphic in there. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that. You're gonna have to show me how you did that. Was that AI?
It- so on the Mac OS, there's some like video settings. So there's actually a really cool one. This one I really like. My team loves this one. Like, let's rock out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And here I am running this silly old just PC. Huh.
It's all
All
good.
right. Well, thank you again, David.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
David, website king makes the